Jack Smith, the special counsel that's investigating several of Trump's alleged crimes, apparently has a new area that he and his investigation are focusing on. It has to do with one of the firings that Trump did. You might recall that after the 2020 election, Donald Trump began to fire basically anyone who appeared to undercut his big lie arguments or that could potentially stand in the way of him retaining power in some extra legal or extra constitutional way. And in particular, they're looking into the firing of Christopher Krebs, who was at that time the top cybersecurity official as the 2020 election was happening. Now, Mr. Krebs assessed in public that the election was not fraudulent. In particular, he put out this report that said there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. It was very clear, very straightforward, and apparently true. But Trump, of course, didn't like that. In particular, he probably didn't like that in that report, that section was actually bolded, which is a choice, and I respect it. Came out 9 days after the election. That's when, of course, Donald Trump and his supporters were really trying to get people fired up for the idea that just because he lost the election doesn't mean that he shouldn't be president. And so just 5 days after that report, Trump tweeted that Mr. Krebs was terminated. He said that Krebs's report and the cybersecurity assessment was highly inaccurate. And Krebs eventually testified to the House Special Committee investigating the January 6th attacks, saying he was aware of skepticism among Trump allies about his, quote, loyalty to the president. And I don't know how much about this he had like knowledge of at that point, but apparently there was more than just skepticism about Krebs. Staff members within the personnel office, which also is being talked to by Jack Smith, those members, had drafted a document about Mr. Krebs that outlined different reasons that people shouldn't trust him. So here's one of the things that they listed. There was a bunch, but, quote, wife posted a family photo on Facebook with the Biden-Harris logo watermarked at the bottom. So clearly you can't trust his assessment or anything. So look, there's been subpoenas in recent weeks, I think in the last 2 weeks, in reference to this, both talking to people in the personnel office and getting into what exactly was going on that motivated the firing of a cybersecurity official. This gets into motivation, state of mind leading into the attack of January 6th. Adrienne, what do you think about all this?
I think that it's rather funny, as you've noted, in terms of putting things in bold, like splashing it in his face, making sure that he has that moment of reality checked. It really continues to show us that as much as Trump wants to be completely and totally divorced from reality, that there is actually reality coming home every time when you have instances of people like this who are willing to speak up, to say something. And as we continue to see the walls kind of start closing in a little bit more and more in the work that Jack Smith is doing, it makes me a little bit more confident in our government. But my God, it would be great if it moved a lot quicker.
Yeah, a whole lot quicker. And these like threads will be raised like, oh, there's something with the cybersecurity, which I don't remember hearing about in the last year or so. So this is new. I wish I could have an idea of how significant it actually is. It doesn't seem like the firing of this guy could be criminal in any way. It could be highly suspicious. A lot of his firings were during that period. So I don't know. I guess this might play into trying to assess what the motivation was, what the strategy was that they were clearing out these people who were considered disloyal, even though they'd been doing their job apparently well. So again, don't know how significant it'll be, but I agree with Adrienne. I wish that it was moving along a lot faster.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.